Hey everyone, Miss Cloutier here, and today we're going to read the book called The Relatives Came. Did you know that the word relative means it's a person who is a part of your family, so somebody that you're related to. So that means your mom is a relative, your dad, your grandma and your grandpa, your aunt and your uncle and your cousins, they're all relatives. So the relatives came. So this means someone's family is coming. Let's find out. The Relatives Came. Story by Cynthia Rylant, illustrated by Stephen Gamble. It's dedicated for Aunt Agnes Little and her brood. It was in the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia. They left when their grapes were nearly purple enough to pick, but not quite. They had an old station wagon that smelled like a real car, and in it they put an ice chest full of soda pop and some boxes of crackers and some bologna sandwiches. And up they came from Virginia. They left at 4 a.m. when it was still dark, before even the birds were awake. Whew. And the moon is still out. They left so early, 4 a.m., 4 o'clock in the morning. Usually we're all sleeping. Have you ever had to leave that early? They drove all day long and into the night. And while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their almost purple grapes back home. They thought about Virginia. But they thought about us too, waiting for them. Here they are. They traveled all throughout the mountains. They're on their way to see their relatives, their family. Because remember, a relative is somebody who's a part of your family, someone that you're related to. So they drank up all their pop. So they drank up all their soda. Pop is another fancy word for soda. And ate up all their crackers and traveled up all those miles until they finally pulled into our yard. Here they are. That must have been one long car ride. They ran into the fence. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives just passed us all around their car, pulling us against their wrinkled Virginia clothes, crying sometimes. They hugged us for hours. It's a lot of hugging going on. Then it was into the house, and so much laughing and shining faces and hugging in the doorways. You'd have to go through at least 4 different hugs to get from the kitchen to the front room. Those relatives. Oh, goodness. Lots of hugging. Just to get to a different room, they had to hug each other. Whew. It's always nice to give someone a hug. It's showing kindness and appreciation. And finally, after a big supper, 2 or 3 times around, until we all got a turn at the table, there was quiet talk. And we were in 2s and 3s in the house. They kind of broke off into their own groups. Okay, let's see what happens next. Just have to cook a lot of food for all these relatives. The relatives weren't particular about beds, which was good, since there weren't any extras, so a few squeezed in with us and the rest slept on the floor. Some with their arms thrown over the closest person, or some with an arm across another person and one leg across another. It was different going to sleep with all the new breathing in the house. Oh gosh. Oh goodness. Lots of breathing. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. They helped us tend the garden, and they fixed any broken things they could find. Oh, so they're showing kindness. They're helping each other out by fixing broken things and helping out one another. That's showing kindness. It's good to help out your relatives. They eat up all our strawberries and melons, but then they promised we could eat up all their grapes and peaches when we came to Virginia. That's good. They're sharing their food. But none of us thought about Virginia much. We were so busy hugging and eating and breathing together. We were just having a really good time. Finally, after a long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chests and headed back to Virginia at 4 in the morning. We stood there in our pajamas and waved them off in the dark. We watched the relatives disappear down the road. Then we crawled back into our beds that felt too big and too quiet, and we fell asleep. And the relatives drove on all day long and into the night. And while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their dark purple grapes waiting at home in Virginia. But they thought about us too, missing them, and they missed us. And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about next summer. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed reading this book with me today. And remember, a relative is someone you're related to. They're a part of your family. Okay, they're part of your family. So that's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt. Okay, thank you so much for reading with me today, and I hope to see you guys soon.